Well, welcome back to the Cross Creek Cut. Today, we're going to be discussing nitrogen management, primarily the side dress application time. Here at Cross Creek, we actually run a knife Coulter system between the row, obviously 15 inches off, a 30-inch row is where we apply. But over time, we've been discussing what is the right amount of nitrogen for our farm, and how do we apply it, what are the different forms, what do we add to it, and why is it important to add things to the nitrogen like as in ATS, ammonium thiazole, humica, enhance, boron, and other things to actually make the nitrogen more available, more plant available, and also sustainable so we don't denitrificate and we don't volatilize. So over time, we took a look at what is nitrogen uptake in the plant and when does it want it. If you take a look at the University of Illinois' data, which Fred Bilo has done for a long time period, recently in the new study, they actually found that the plant is actually taken up around 7 pounds of N per acre per day, starting around that V8 time period. That's a massive amount of nitrogen you look at for about 21 days to the pinnacle and the apex around VT and tassel time is when that plant needs the most amount of nitrogen it can get. Why is it so important that we are recommending and looking over a long-term time period, along with Beck's PFR data, that the 2x2 system and increasing into the 2x2x2 being on both sides of the row, moving more nitrate forward into that time period is very important and also beneficial for ROI. Starting in 2023, we did that in the 2x2x2 system. And what we found out is we could actually deliver more in the tune of 40 to 60 pounds of actual N available plant up front. And then we started side dressing our standard rate, which has historically been around 50 gallons per acre in our knife Coulter system in between the row. If you look back at 22's data, we actually did a net effective rate, and we went from 30 gallons to 40 to 50 to 60, and we did that across multiple fields to find out what is our net effective rate for our farm. In the 22 data, it showed that 50 gallons the acre was the correct rate for us, along with the amthio we had in there, the humica, and the boron. Well, the interesting thing is, guys, I can't stand up here and tell you that 50 pounds the acre is the right, or 50 gallons the acre for that matter, is the right amount for you. Nitrogen is a moving target. Every year is extremely different. Mineralization, we have temperature, how much rainfall we had, what is your CECs, what is your organic matter. Those are all major macro things that are looking into your nitrogen, let alone the micro things that we're looking at. Every year is different. Every farm is different. So for us, we want you to call us and work with us to figure out how we can help you with that, how do we help manage that, and then how do we take what you're doing in your farm and your equipment and make it more efficient for you guys. But getting back to our data and what we looked at in 2023, we actually said, what would happen if we added more? What would happen if we went out there and instead of putting 50 gallon on, what would happen if we put 60 gallon on? Let's see if that's our limiting factor. And then we said, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's go ahead and put 80 gallon on. Little's good, more is better, right? Well, not in this case, guys. If you look at our 2023 data, by the time we got to 80 gallons the acre, we actually lost money. And at that point in time, the yield didn't go up, it actually went down. So we lost ROI and lost yield by adding more. So obviously our limiting factor to yield was not nitrogen. In my opinion, and by looking at the data and some other data we were working on our farm and some of our research farm, we really think that sulfur and actually humic is our limiting factors. Every time we've added more sulfur, we've gained ROI and gained yield. Every time we've increased our humica or enhanced and added more humic acid, increasing the CEC load and the carbon load, we've actually added yield. We've added ROI. So obviously there's the things that we're looking at limiting factors on the nitrogen management piece is really, we just need more carbon out there and more exchangeable sites to hold on to the nitrate and make it more plant available. And in turn, we need more sulfur. Sulfur is a huge component. We all know in our soil tests, some of our leaf tissue tests, that we just don't have enough sulfur, boron, zinc. We're all fighting that because we don't have the acid rains we had in the past to deposit that into our soils like we used to have 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. So today we don't have that and we're trying to get that back into it. The interesting thing is we also took it a step further this year for 2023. We said, what would happen if we did a study, kept the amount of nitrate the same per acre, but just did it in different intervals? And so we did a standard rate on our 2x2x2, and then we came back, which that rate was 15 gallons. Then we came back and we knife coultered 60 gallons right around the June 6th time frame, June 7th time frame, and we did 60 gallons as a control. Then we came and we did 30 gallons on check strips with a knife Coulter, and we came back and wide dropped another 30 gallons on those around the July 18th time frame. And then we also wide dropped the full 60 at the July 18th time frame. In that full 60 wide drop, we obviously did not run the knife Coulter. So we were discussing and trying to figure out what kind of rate, when it could be used, and could we also spread it out possibly and gain more by having split applied. Well, if you look at the data here in 2023, we actually, the control was 60 gallon. At 60 gallon wide dropped, there was actually a negative $30 an acre, $30.92 an acre ROI. So we lost money by waiting clear to July 18th to wide drop. If you look at the split of 30 gallons and 30 gallons was about a wash. It was about 11 cent an acre ROI. Not a huge difference. Not obviously nothing statistically different there. So this year was very different in 2023. If you look back, we had the driest May and June in history here in central Indiana. The biggest thing is we all know, and I talked earlier in the video, that we need more nitrogen available to plant early on, and that way you can remobilize it past VT and the plant can use it. But you've got to provide some kind of CEC, you've got to provide some kind of carbon source to be able to have that. And many of our soils don't have enough carbon in them to hold on to that nitrate and keep that bond there. That's why we add humica. That's why we're looking at adding enhance now. We're adding, a pint of humica, a pint of enhance. And if you look at some of our data here and a few of our videos later, enhance actually added even more yield and ROI when we paired it with humica. More to come over the next couple of years as we look at humica and enhance comparable to both products and also in combination. But the big thing we think has happened is we increased our carbon load. So we held on the nitrate longer so the plant could pick it up and remobilize it later. We also held on to sulfur. We held on to boron so the plant could be able to pick it up. And we left the CECs in the soil and left that exchange available, increasing it in that root zone so that plant could use it, then put it back out through the root exudates. And we still had enough carbon in the soil to hold on to the root exudates that left it there so it could pick it back up again, remobilize it. It's nutrient cycling, guys. It's biological cycling. It's understanding how to do this and put the right key ingredients in the soil so the rhizosphere, the root zone of the plant, is healthy, but also can use the nutrients that we're all spending money on. The big thing that we're looking at in the future is the nutrient wheel. So when we look at the nutrient wheel, what we're talking about that is when you add one thing, you change everything. So as we add more nitrate, we add more sulfur, we add more zinc, whatever it may be, boron, add more humica, enhance. Those things change the entire nutrient wheel, guys. One thing affects another. You have to understand how that balance works, and we're all trying to get better at that. But when you do one thing and you change another, you got to understand how to balance the next thing out. And that just takes time to understand that. It also takes time to educate and figure out what are we adding, how do we balance it out, and what can we add or take away to make things more better for the plant to be more efficient, which obviously creates better overall plant health. It creates better overall stability in the plant. And the next thing is it creates yield and ROI for all of us. And that's what we're here for. We want better, healthier plants. We want more nutrient-rich dense plants that we're able to provide better quality grain. We don't want to have to deal with things like vomit toxin later. So we're creating better, healthy plants. And the ultimate thing is we want yield. We all get paid off bushels, right? That's what we make our money on. And so we've got to help figure out how do we give the plant the right thing versus trying to kill off the wrong things. So then in turn that plant's healthier, it's got a better environment to grow in, and it knows that it wants to be able to do that. So the next thing big that we want to talk about in that nutrient wheel is boron management. So in side dress, we add boron every time for side dressing, whether it's wide drop, whether it's in the knife Coulter. We also add it in our 2x2, and we foliar feed it late in season. We are adding as much boron as we possibly can without getting to boron toxic or toxicity. What that number is, I'm not sure yet because we haven't been able to figure that out. But we know adding a pint of boron every time we're applying UAN or in foliar, we're picking up bushels, we're picking up ROI, we're getting the plant to be more efficient with its nitrogen management, but also increasing protein synthesis. So protein synthesis obviously adds weight to the kernel. And in that, we want to be able to produce a more nutrient-rich kernel, having more weight, test weight, and in turn, picking up ROI and yield. So coming back to the ROI of the study we did this year in 2023, discussing the wide drop versus the knife Coulter. In that, when we kind of was talking about how dry it was through May and June, we're going to continue to study on in the future. But I think we're going to try to move that Y drop application up, somewhere in that mid-June timeframe, really closer to that V8 timeframe, just to compare it to knife Coulter in that V4, V5 timeframe, and get more of a split of what's true and accurate at that time versus waiting so late to come in July when that plant's really closer to V12 to almost tassel time to apply that nitrate. I think we were too late. The other thing is I think the season was so dry that we didn't get a lot of the nitrate moved in from the early application. So there's some issues going on with that. So when I come back to that, the truth of the matter is, guys, it's a revolving target. Nitrogen management is a revolving target that we all have to deal with every year. What we do with that is based on the knowledge we have that we've had in the previous years, data we have, and then what the weather gives us. But we got to start with a good plan. You got to have a good plan, what we're doing, how we want to do it, and what rates we want to do, and what other things we're adding to it to save the money on the dollars we're spending, but make it more plant available, and we have those chances to deliver the right goods that plant wants at that time. So if you guys have questions, please, at any point in time, call us, call one of our staff, email, check us out on our social media or website, get back in touch with us, and we'll be working with you guys, help you out as much as we can, and figure out how do we help your system get better so you can make more ROI. We'll talk to you soon.